different. Welcome, everybody. This is the way we have to do things right now, but I'm with you in spirit, and thank you all so much for being here with me. And Lisa, thank you so much for doing today.
I mean, it's such an honor. I sat next to you for nearly 17 years, and I knew you before you got married. I saw you get married. I threw your baby shower and then watched you guys really live a lifetime in 18 months once you got the diagnosis. And so that brings us to the topic of the book, You Can't Do It Alone. This is the book that you wrote. You started writing it a year, right, after your lovely husband, Sean Whitesell, passed away. So before we get to the book, I want you to talk to people a little bit, for those who don't know about his disease. Can you talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, I can tell you that before the diagnosis, Sean was very healthy. He was young, he was vibrant, he was always working out. Gus, he was 3 years old at the time, kept us very busy and very active. And it was shortly after Sean's 50th birthday, we were gifted a present. Well, he was, I just kind of grabbed onto it, but for his 50th birthday party, his brothers gave him this magical trip to Paris. And I'm so thankful for that. But, do you remember that? Everyone was, too. Yes, everyone was giving me ideas. Sean and I both ideas on where to go, what to do, who to see, what to do. And everyone contributed. And so we go on this magical trip. It was the first time we'd been away together for years, because Gus, we were so, with him. Here's some pictures of our trip to Paris. And it was, unfortunately, during this trip, or fortunately, I was able to be with Sean 24/7. And leading up to that, he had just had a new job and we had a little one. And so, you know how it goes with two working couples in a home. We were kind of ships in the night. We would pass each other. So it was on this trip that...
The night to go to work.
What's that?
You got up in the middle of the night to go to work. So it is definitely not a normal situation.
Exactly. So we weren't really together as much as we should have been, I suppose. But it was on this trip that I realized things were not right with him. He just had a hard time remembering things, but it was beyond that. He didn't know how to tip or not tip in Paris, to do the calculation. He was somebody who lived in New York for a long time, and he just couldn't get a cab for us. That was impossible for him. Like, that just wasn't right. And every day we were there, it just got kind of worse. Like, he wanted to sleep in, and that just wasn't who he was. And so I knew something was off. So when we got back, I asked him while we were in Paris. I was actually practically in tears those last couple of days. And when we got back, he saw some doctors, and it was 2 weeks exactly after we returned that he was diagnosed with incurable, terminal, inoperable brain cancer. So he had these big tumors in his brain.
It's called glioblastoma, correct?
Yeah, it's called glioblastoma, GBM. Never really heard that before. And on the periphery, I had heard about brain cancer because Senator Ted Kennedy had actually passed away from it. So just on the periphery, I'd heard about it. And so it was a shocking diagnosis for us. And we started asking the questions of why, why us, why him? He was a good guy. He was a really good person, and he was healthy. And the thing is, glioblastoma doesn't discriminate. It will get you, even if you are young, old, man, woman, white, black, Asian. And so we thought, maybe it's because I wear a microphone every day and he's a writer, that maybe he's supposed to write something about it. And it ended up me having to do it. But I like to say that he helped me write it. And so that's our main goal with the book, is to bring awareness and hopefully more funding for research so that we can actually not only get better treatment and make lives longer, but to find a cure.
Well, it's one of the most underfunded diseases out there. And so I know you've attended so many events. And so in writing this book, it's to get this message out there. Was this a book that you think Sean was going to write? I mean, he wanted to write it, or?
I speak to Sean all the time, and I feel as though this is the kind of book I think he would have liked to have written, because not only are we bringing awareness to this disease, but we're also getting to tell our love story, and not just our own personal love story, but I'd like to say the love story of our family, our friends, my work family, our viewers that watch us every day. But it's really a love story about our whole village, our whole team, and it's a special message. And I hope that people can take away some of the lessons that we've learned throughout this journey.
Well, I love that you talk about the love story, because whether or not you know who you are, I think if someone's just picking up the book, they're going to fall in love with you. They're going to fall in love with Sean and the magic that you guys had together. And I think you like to give people hope in the book as well. I feel like the book is so incredibly hopeful.
Yeah, that's one thing, we never gave up hope. We always felt like he could be that one. He could be one of the few that actually survived this disease, because there is a small percentage of people that do live a long time with brain cancer. We never gave up that hope, not even to the end. And I would like to think that this book will offer hope, not just going through a terminal disease like his, but just in how to live life, hopefully, and finding joy in every day. I love all the comments that's coming up. Thank you so much. I can't wait to dig into it, but in a little bit.
So anyway, about the book, if you haven't read it, Maria breaks it down into different chapters. So it's broken down, starting with, really the hardest thing that Maria had to do, and that was it was titled The Last Breath, I believe, and that was, telling your son that, or telling your child that your spouse, your parent has passed away.
Yeah, I would have to say, yeah, that was probably the hardest conversation I've ever had to have with anyone ever, was having to tell Gus. And I have to give credit to not just Sean, because I always took cues from him, but without our family therapist, I don't know if I could have had the confidence that I did that day to tell him exactly what happened. And it was some of the role playing that we used to do, that she would do with us, and to try to find the language to tell a 3-year-old about Sean's diagnosis, how to tell basically a 4-year-old what life and death meant and what dying means. And so without her, it would have been much more terrifying and difficult. And I'm a huge proponent, as you know, and Lisa, I always took my cues from you too. You had such amazing advice for me all those years. And I'm a big proponent in having a family therapist. And I use this analogy that we all go to the doctor at least once a year, or even our dentist twice a year. I don't know why more people don't go and see a psychologist or a family counselor at least twice a year.
It's just for check-ins. In the book, if you haven't seen it yet, what I think is really part of the gift that you gave all of us is the notes from the grief counselor. So it's kind of summed up in a paragraph or 2 or 3 what you had talked about and the key points of how people deal with it. So whether it is the verbiage that you use for a young child, and keeping them online. And you do that for each chapter that you go through.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for Lauren Schneider. She is a licensed clinician specializing in social work and grief and loss, specifically for children. And I've actually known Lauren for a while now too, and she's just a wealth of knowledge. And she came in at the end and read every chapter and basically is able to extrapolate and use what happened in our family and use it as an example, and also take all of these nuggets and so that people can apply all the lessons we learned in a more broad way. And I think that's the beauty of the book, and I'm really proud of it, and I'm so thankful that she came on board and became a part of it.
And she's the book, in each chapter there are a lot of the nuts and the bolts as well. I think that were so important. Things that I didn't know about, and you said you felt guilty a little bit about, but like even buying the burial plot, right? I mean, you give people like advice on how to go through some of this stuff.
Yeah, one of the things that I learned was, I didn't know this until we had to go do it, was that if you are faced with a death of someone and you go and you try to buy a plot or a cemetery plot, it's a different rate for you if you need it right away. It's about 30+% more expensive if you need it now versus part of your estate planning. So this is another thing that I learned, and I thank God now that we did have the wherewithal to go months. Actually, it was not too long after his diagnosis, that my mom came up with me, and I was just a mess, but she held my hand and we went up to actually one of our favorite places to go, oddly enough. And I just knew that would have been where Sean that's where I would have wanted to go. Mm-hmm. That's where Marilyn Monroe is, Farrah Fawcett, his favorite authors are there and actors.
You always walked there. I remember long ago.
Actually, my friend Saki, I don't know if she's watching, but Saki-chan, she took me up there years and years before I think we even moved in the neighborhood. And so, it was just in my periphery, and it just worked out that way. And when that day came where I showed Sean actually where it was, he was just really happy that was what I picked, and he was really content. Yeah. And we said, let's not move in too quickly. Let's get out of here.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You also talk about things like having to get, going through the process of getting a medical marijuana card and all of that. And I love the one story because the book is sad at times. You told me this, and like reading the intro, like you lost me at that, into tears. So I want you to know that it is emotional to read, but it again is so hopeful, but also funny. And I'm thinking of the one specific story when Sean accidentally.
I know. I'll let you. I know. I won't go too much into it because I want you guys to read it. But I did grow up in Hawaii, so I'm going to say that it was not new to me, the idea of cannabis and marijuana. And I mean, it's pakalolo. It grows like weeds. It is a weed. And I do remember having it around all the time. No, not me personally, but I mean, it was always around. It's just always around. So it was a funny story. And I got to say that the properties of cannabis, it was really good for him for quite a while. And so that's another reason to legalize marijuana and federally do some real research so that we can actually move forward in finding some real answers and treatments that can truly help. And I think it helped him quite a bit, actually, especially when it came to inflammation and appetite and nausea. And that was another recommendation from another friend of ours, and Beth, who called and said, here's what you need to do for Sean. Here's how he's going to be feeling, because she had some experience. And I thought, oh my God, yes, of course. And so that's what I'm talking about, the village and that circle and the friends.
And you, so anyway, I just want people to know that there are these sweet, funny, touching, endearing stories in the book. And you talk about the team. I know part of your team was work and the family, but then you also have, and I know we have a picture of them, the 7 samurai. And these were people, and you just you were so good at gathering people around. The picture we're seeing right now, this is a family that was
That's them.
all the boys,
Oh.
and dad, and
Yeah.
us, and all the brothers are there in New York together, right?
Yeah, this was one of the last trips
Yeah.
that they all took together with Dad. Gus is in this picture. So it was Gus, Grandpa, and all of the 6 sons who have been there for us every step along the way. And I'm just so grateful. And Sean was right. You know, I remember talking to him about how scared I was to raise Gus and to raise him as a single mom. And I just had my insecurities about making sure he grew up with all the right values and everything. And he said, honey, you got nothing to worry about. And I said, why? How am I going to teach Gus to be a man, you know, and all this kind of stuff? And he's like, you got my brothers. My brothers are going to be there. And he's right.
Yeah.
He's right. They're there all the time.
They have been the biggest source of support, I know, for you in so many ways. We have, you want to look at the clip from John right now? Do you feel like
speaking
of brothers?
Yeah,
this is we're really high tech. I'm really sorry that Maria's going to basically hold up her iPhone. I'm going to share a little video clip that John, one of the older brothers, sent, and it really sums up what it was like for one of his family members to read this book.
Okay, let me try this. I know it's a little old school, but I think it'll work. You guys, and the reason why I want to share this is because John is the oldest Whitesell brother. Mm-hmm. And John, you know, he was the first person we went to when Sean needed a doctor. Anyway, John knows a lot. And so it was very nice of him to send this. So hold on for 1 second. I'm just going to turn this on.
It's John here. And I just want to congratulate you on the release of your new book.
You Can't Do It Alone. It's an amazing accomplishment. I'm truly touched by the memories in this book about my brother Sean. I'm also touched more by the positiveness and the hopefulness that's in this book. I remember when you first told me you were going to write the book, I wondered why. Why would you want to go back through what had been obviously so painful for all of us, and particularly for you? But in the galleys, I read it and I started to really understand what you were trying to do. And I felt, okay, I get why she's writing the book. But it really wasn't until the second reading, which I just finished last week, that I truly realized how good the book was. You really did take those moments in Sean's life and compare and contrast them in a way that allows people to relate and then understand what ways you can cope with those problems that come up. This book became really hopeful for me when I read it the second time. And even though it was painful to relive all those moments that were there about Sean and the difficulty of the brain cancer and his passing, there was hope that out of that, there was a way you could understand and grow from it, and that we all need help, that we all need other people, and we all need outside intervention sometimes to get us through the roughest times. And I thought that the book provided a blueprint for people to go at. Not everything may work for everybody, but there's certainly ways to try to fix or understand or cope with different problems. And I think you guys did a really wonderful job of that in the book. I'm really, really proud of you. You make my brother's memory something that I'm very proud of. And he would be incredibly proud of you for writing this book. You did a great job. Everyone who reads this book will grow and appreciate from it. And you should be incredibly proud of yourself. I love you.
I know.
Thank you, John.
I know. I think it is, he talks about the hope and the blueprint. And I know we talk about it, and you talk to Sean all the time. You talk to him on your way home from work in the car. You sit next to him, and I know he'd be like, "I told you." You even said it in your acknowledgments or the intro. It's like, it's ready, and we found a way to tap into all of that. You hit the information people need, but also the emotion there. And did you feel like it was something that, did you feel like I need to get everyone's blessing before I write the book? Or
it's funny you should ask that. I did actually, and I did talk to them or emailed. I talked, the last person I talked to, I think, was Patrick about it. And Patrick and Sean were the closest, I think, in age. And I was just sharing with him how it meant the world to me to have his and everyone else's blessing. And they were just really, really thrilled about it. And I'm just so grateful.
Yeah. Everyone. When you work side by side with Maria, and you would see her come in the morning, and we'd be in the makeup chair at 4:00 in the morning. And Maria, you maybe had a half hour of sleep, maybe, if she was lucky that night, and she still came in, and you got that makeup on and the hair, you did your prep work, and you went out there and you shined for
thank you.
Anyone watching, but you shined for your coworkers, and you shined, for your husband, because you were working because it was needed. That needed to be done. I mean,
well, the thing is, it was good for me to go to work. I didn't want to for a lot of that, but it was good for me to go. And it actually took my mind off of it a little bit. And I really thank you guys for making me laugh all those times. That first smile was forced sometimes, but after a while, I just got lost in work, and I was grateful for that. Certainly, they just I think Anna from the publisher just flashed a photo of the samurai that you had talked about earlier.
And the samurai.
Yeah, the samurai is a group. There they are. They're a group of friends of mine now. We've become such close friends, and if it wasn't for each one of them, I really think that my road, and at least for me, would have been even more scary. And it was scary enough, even with the knowledge that I had. And if it wasn't for them, it would have been even more difficult. So I just want to thank everybody from Candy to Linda, Melissa, Monica, Denise, and Otto. And you can see we're all very diverse. And thank you guys for being part of my book and for being in my life. I love you guys.
Yeah, I know you took away so much. I know there were times where you're like to have to leave Sean or to have to leave Gus, but you would go, and there was always something that was important.
Yeah,
that you got out.
I encourage you. I know some people hesitate to go to a support group. I know I did. Mm-hmm. I did hesitate in the beginning, absolutely. And my only regret really is to not have gone sooner, because I found out so many things, like which doctor, what to ask for, certain things that just didn't come easily for the doctors to tell you about, just because they just don't know. So without their help, I really wouldn't have known half the things I did. And go to the group, go to the meeting, because even though you do go and you leave and you go, that was a waste of time, inevitably it was not a waste of time.
It wasn't. Through the book, you talk about obviously the different chapters, and the one chapter I really liked as well was making memories, because this is something that I remember just so vividly for you guys. You had the diagnosis, and you had 18 months with Sean after the diagnosis. I would say you lived 3 lifetimes in that 18 months. It's what it felt like from the outside.
Well, we had part of our team was this doctor named Dr. Renna, and he really sat us down and told us about the reality of what we were working with. And so he said to us plainly, you need to seize this moment. And I know it's hard to imagine, but You need to take each day as a gift, and each day needs to be filled with memories that's equivalent to a month, and so on. And so really, I thank him for that too. It was kind of a slap, like a wake-up call when he told us that that day. But we really tried for that, and we got there, which was hard to imagine at the moment, but we did. And then again, a credit to my samurai, but I was that squeaky wheel. You have to advocate for yourself and for your partner, or your loved one. And I kind of badgered Sean's doctors, and I was constantly asking about this or that. And I asked Dr. Clausey, Sean's doctor, about a real timeline. And I nailed him down, and he did. He gave me a really good assessment. And so we decided during that time that I asked for some leave, or a leave of absence from work. He said this is the right time. So I told Sean's family, and they did so many wonderful things with him. They went to games, they spent extra time, and they always hung out even before that. But they really made a point to just be together a lot. This was a concert that Sean and I went to with Patrick and some friends. We went to John Mellencamp. We got to go on stage. We got just things that we just didn't do before, So it was just so grateful for those moments, and we'll always have those memories. And I talk about that with Gus. We talk about daddy memories all the time, and it's good for the soul, and it's good for him to know, never question or ask. Like we bring it up and just randomly, organically, and that's.
And have you taken that with you still, the ability to live a month in a day type situation?
Maybe,
or
yeah.
I'm a little exhausted right now.
Yeah, after all that, I just wanted to sleep for a long time, which I did catch up on some of that. We're not able to do as much as we did, but the spirit of that I try to embody, and I definitely don't sweat the small stuff. Really, there's some of the lessons that I've learned along the way. So we try. We really do. I really do try.
You talk about lessons, and I know one of the things you talk about in the book is, and I think you credited Steve Edwards, who of course we love and worked with for so long, but the gift of forgiveness.
Yeah. There were many days where I would come into work, and he would always just kind of assess how I was feeling that day. He would be like the one that like ran in, how you doing? How you doing today? It's like, do you feel like punching somebody? And I go, yeah. There were many days where I did, and he'd be like, okay, right there. But he's like, no, right here, because don't touch the face. It's just really funny moments at work, and I would share things, of course, certain times where I would get some inappropriate comments to me. I won't say them now, but he will say, Maria, people mean well, and you just have to forgive. And that was kind of freeing. It just that statement and that ability. And I was able to do it, and I still do all the time, especially this 4-way stop sign by my house, and people don't follow the rules. I forgive. And don't go crazy. Yeah. We have a quote here, Lisa.
Yeah, let me read it for you. This is from Dr. Oz, Mehmet Oz, and he says, Maria shares her path to balancing grief with the happy memories of her beloved husband. Her emotional journey will amaze you. I know you've spoken with about the need for more funding and this disease in general.
He's so kind to take the time to do this. Him and his executive producer would often come into the newsroom, as you know, before this pandemic, of course. So I did talk to him about this back then, and was hoping one day maybe actually be able to talk about it more on his show. So that could still happen, hopefully, once all of this is over. So thank you, Dr. Oz, for providing us with this amazing support for the book.
It is beautiful. I asked so many people. We have more quotes as well. Let's see the next one. This is your doctor. A must read not only for caregivers on the front lines of a terminal disease, but also to those who are looking to support caregivers. And that's from Dr. Timothy Clousey. Yeah.
Yes, that was perfect. Actually, he is one of the leading neuro-oncologists, best of the best out there. And we were so fortunate to have him as Sean's neuro-oncologist. And he was the doctor that I badgered all the time. Constantly bullied him. I do have his cell phone number. Thank you for doing that, Dr. Clousey. And he really took the time with not just us, but with every patient. And I remember in the beginning, we had to wait a long time, but we got it because he really gave you the time. He gave each family the time you needed, however long that was.
We have Dr. Drew Pinsky here, and then I want to get to, we have a lot of questions on the side, and I know some down below as well, so I really want people to be able to hear and get their questions answered. But Dr. Pinsky, Drew Pinsky, Maria, through her own very personal experience, gives us all a glimpse and model for resiliency. She beautifully brings the reader back to a truth that those of us who work with the human being know vividly. You cannot do it alone.
I can hear him yelling that. You cannot do it alone. He's so passionate. Oh, Dr. Drew, thank you for that. He's also a huge advocate for so many in need of not just medical care, but mental and heart care. So I was so honored and so happy to get that quote from him. Thank you.
I'm going to look down at some of the questions, if you don't mind. Okay, Maria, I have a question. After Sean died, what happened after that? Do you always love God and family? This is from Cameron Rhodes.
Always. Church, God is a huge part of our lives. I credit Sean for being a much better Catholic than I was, but he was a religious man. He was a man of faith, and he really did bring me back to the church more than I thought I could. And we had such a special relationship with our church and our whole community at our church, and I give him credit for that.
I love reading that you would have dinners at your house, and he really brought that into your life.
Yeah, that was something that he grew up with. His parents were devout Catholics and 6 sons, right? They all grew up in Iowa Falls, Iowa, and had just a really great sense of set of values. And I really credit that to their upbringing, and church was a big part of that. And I think that Sean lived by this incredible moral compass. And I just pray that he keeps helping me to raise Gus in the same way. And by the way, thank you, Father Eric, Father John, Father Frank, all of our people here at our church.
I have a question about what Gus thinks of the book, and are you guys still going to family therapy?
Yes, absolutely, still going to family therapy. We'll go forever. I think it's an important part of our well-being, and I think everyone should go, regardless. It should just be part of our physicals every year. The other question?
What does Gus think of the book?
Oh, you know what? It's so funny. He started reading a little bit of the first chapter. He thinks it's cool. He's 9. He's like, am I in it a lot? And I said, yeah, I think you're in it some, Gus. And he read the first bit a little bit, and a little part of it anyway. And he goes, I don't remember this. I don't remember saying this. Did I really say that? Yeah, you were really, really young. So it'll be a good source of conversation for us. And I hope that he looks at the book as a gift for him as well when he's older.
Let's see. This is from Saki. One of my favorite parts in your book was where Sean's family all helped by reading reference books for you and Sean.
That was a huge part, huge part. When you talk about, we have people in our lives that are diagnosed, right? And we say, how can we help? What can we do? And this was one way that our family members really helped me. And I said, I got this list of books that I'm supposed to read. It's supposed to have information in here, valuable information. And so they said, we'll read it. And they gave me a kind of like a synopsis at the end and told me the highlights and the high points. And it was so helpful. And some people were like, no, this book's not worth it. Don't waste your time. So they spent the time doing it rather than having me do it. And that was so helpful. Thank you. My sisters-in-law did that. And my sisters-in-law's sisters also did that, I believe. Yeah.
A lot of people responding to John's comments, of course. Those were so beautiful. Beautiful salutes. People are in tears like we all were when we heard his words.
Yeah, they spoke at the funeral. Him and the oldest brother, John, spoke, and then Patrick, the youngest brother, spoke. Yeah.
One thing that some people have asked in here, I saw at least one question, but it's also something you address in the book, because basically the book goes from how you met Sean to life goes on. And that's the one thing that when you lose someone, people always want to know, well, are you going to find someone? Are you looking for love? Are you dating? And you even talk about dipping the toe in the dating pool a little bit in the book.
The baby toe, just dipping the baby toe. I guess I've met a couple of people I've been set up, but it's just not I'm not on a dating website or anything like that. Sean, he's going to have to send someone my way. That's just the bottom line. He talked a few times actually through those 18 months, and he insisted that I continue to be happy. And if that meant, and that also meant sharing my life, because I always used to say that with him. I never liked doing things alone or without him, because I always liked to share the experience. So he insisted that. And he's just going to have to send someone my way, because I'm not out there looking necessarily. But hey, I never say no, never. I never say no. And I'd like to think that I could share my life with someone else, but we'll see. If not, I'm content and I feel full. If that's in my future, then fine.
I love how you wrote, that Sean wasn't perfect, but he was perfect for you. And you talk about the love that you guys had. And that's, when the waterworks, I think, start for all of us, because it was such a special and unique love. And, but I do know that you talked to him, and I know he's like, didn't he answer what? No, didn't he? There's a sign, there was a sign, but it was a date, but it was a random date that wasn't necessarily.
It's so funny because Sean answers me seriously. I tell Gus this all the time. If you look hard enough and if you listen hard enough after you've talked to Sean or after you've talked to Daddy, he will answer you. You just have to look and listen hard, and he will give you an answer. And I got to say that today is a perfect example. Today is June 18th, okay? When we had to postpone this launch event, and I was talking to Sean like I always do, this day we have to move it. There's all these crazy things going on in the world. Please tell me you're going to be there. Hold my hand. And I realized the other day, I think I was with Saki, and I said, oh my gosh, June 18th, that was the day that I could never forget. That was the day that he was diagnosed. I remember it so vividly, and it was not too dissimilar from today. The marine layer was thick this morning. It's slightly cooler than average. There's a little bit of a sea breeze and this cooler onshore flow. And I'm going into my weather speak, but I remember that day, and it was at 4:00 that we got that call, and we had to go to the hospital. And that was the day we found out that he had all these tumors. So it's just very interesting that things happen a certain way. And here we are. It is June 18th. And it's even more meaningful and relevant, I guess, the change of the date. I don't think I told you. I didn't tell the folks over at the book office.
No, I'm sitting here. I can't believe it. And people are saying I have chills. That's That's
Yeah,
pretty unbelievable.
it's
Yeah.
he makes himself known and heard all the time, all the time.
You talk about, I love the fact that there was the laughter, and you talk about also how you took maybe just a few hours out of that whole 18 months where it was really that whole aspect of disbelief. Why us? Why is this happening? And I wonder, is that like, was that a conscious effort, or do you just go into a mode where you are just focused on whatever you can find to hold
Part of it was,
another day? Like, how were you able to live that way?
I guess part of it was because of who Sean was. He was not one to, he was very optimistic. He really was a problem solver. And I really took his cues with that. And we kept going. We were like, okay, how do we fix this? And he led the way on that. So we both together decided what we needed to do, and we were very goal oriented, and he was always that way. So I just took cues from him.
You also talked about, I just lost all my lights for some reason. Of course, what else is new?
Oh, you still look good.
I turn these on. You talk about
Still look,
never letting him feel like he was being defeated at all.
no, it was all up to him. It was his decision, but I definitely presented him with the choices, and so he knew what the choices were, and he was optimistic, but he was also in touch with reality, and he knew what was good for him and good for Gus. Everything was for Gus and for me. So I know he loved us very much in his family. So he wanted to stay here as long as he could. And so he made decisions based on that.
We just got another question. And after Sean passed, did you receive signs of his presence in your home? Like after Roger passed, there were times when I walked into our bedroom, I could smell his presence. One significant time, a non-working Koa clock with no battery started taking away. I spent half an hour speaking to Roger through the clock, reassuring him that Nicole and I are making the best of days and doing
all the time. I think that's probably from Lana. It sounds like my friend Lana, whose husband also died from GBM. Unbelievable. We went to the same high school together. I hear Sean all the time. At times when I need him, I went to a wedding in Cabo, and I was missing him so much. And I remember going to the table where they, the board where it tells you what table you're supposed to be sitting at. And I just remember walking up to this thing by myself, and I just thought, God, I wish you were here. I wish you were here. And I looked to see where my name was, and boom, right in front of me was his name. And it was spelled the way, he spelled his name, Sean. And I just instantly, because it was at that moment. So I can tell you 1,000 things. So many, almost every week, every day, something happens.
It must be so comforting. And also, one thing I like that you share, and you even shared it yesterday on your Instagram. You have a very personal relationship, obviously, with your viewers. You've been in everyone's homes for nearly 20 years now. And you talk about 20 plus years.
I was 12 when I started.
I know. I'm like, I don't know, 25 myself. You talk about the viewers, how they really helped you with their comments, but also you've shared so much of yourself. Even yesterday, I'm feeling a little happy and sad at the same time. Like you posted that on your stories, and I took it as you and I had talked about the book launch, and we've been going over everything, and there was probably a little feelings over all of it.
Absolutely. Today I was talking on the news, Tony McEwing, who you know so well, as also we work side by side forever, interviewed me about this event and the book. And after that, it was hard for me to recover. I was in tears. And I was both happy, so happy to talk about the book, so happy to be able to hopefully help other people, which will help heal my heart. But I was also very sad because I didn't want to mark my first book as this book. And so I asked if that was possible. And I guess I'm not the only one. It happens to many people, how you can be so happy but so sad at the same time. And I challenge, is there an emoji that actually depicts that emotion? I don't know if you can be so happy but so sad at the same time.
I just use a lot of emojis, and apparently I use them all wrong at the same time. So I'm looking forward to the event, hoping for good information on grieving and finding joy. My husband of 32 years passed away, Tina, so I hope you've been able to get some information and read Maria's book. Let's see. Oh, any opportunity to purchase an author-signed book copy in the future?
Such a great question.
We were just talking about.
We did. You know, obviously we've had to pivot and change the way we're doing things. I'm a first-time author, and so I'm hoping that we will be able to do something in person. So I'm so glad that you're here with us, because now I think we have access to you, and I want to personally send you some information, not just on the book, but hopefully let you know where I will be, because I want to one day be out there to be able to sign the books and meet you personally. I want to meet all of you personally. The ones that I don't know, obviously I know a lot of you guys here too. Thank you for being here. But I want to have real hugs. I just realized I haven't really hugged people in a long time. My parents just arrived, and I hadn't really hugged anyone until after they were, you know, for sure free and clear of any virus. But I just realized I hadn't hugged anyone other than Gus for almost 3 months.
It's that human touch that I miss. I mean, you and I hug all the time, and I haven't been able to
Yeah.
see you in person.
No.
It's hard. This has been hard. I know we.
Oh, you know what we didn't play was Danica's video. Danica is a friend of mine, friend of yours, friend of our show, but she's become a really close friend. And let me just share this with you really quick. Hold on.
I can only imagine the courage that it must have taken Maria to put this book together. After dealing with the tragic loss of her husband, having to explain to her 5-year-old at that point what happened and how to move forward. But Maria is such a beautiful spirit, and she has found light and hope and joy, and she shares it here. So whoever's watching this right now, I hope you don't have the kind of pain in your life that would necessitate a book like this. But if you do, this is here for you. And it's got a beautiful message. You can do it. You can get through this. You can't do it alone. So reach out for help. And I think you'll find a lot of help right here.
So sweet. Danica, thank you so much for that.
So beautiful, because I mean, it's just true. I mean, at one point or another, we're all going to experience loss if we haven't already. And you talk about it in your book too. You lost your father when you were 7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think really there's something to that, right? Everything in life prepares you for whatever is to come. And that was one of the reasons why Sean and I were always very honest with Gus, and always made sure he was a part of everything in an age-appropriate way, of course, but he was always kept abreast, because the last thing I wanted him to do was be afraid, to be confused. So again, with our family counselor, we really worked hard at making sure he always felt secure, and that he didn't have cancer, and that mommy didn't have cancer. And we never confused the disease with being sick or having the cold or flu. That there was a disease called cancer, and that was something he or none of us had, except for Daddy.
Yeah, except for Daddy. I know there are a lot of people that you wanted to be able to thank. I know you thanked a lot of the doctors and the people in the priests. Was there anyone else that you would wanted to mention?
Did I forget someone? I hope not. All the people who have offered their support and their quotes for the book. I want to thank my immediate family. My mom and dad are here. Of course, my brother, my aunts who are here, and Gus, Desmond, his beautiful little family that's growing. And also I want to thank Sean's beautiful parents, Jack and Pat, who have been just amazing to me, and Gus, and of course, all of Sean's brothers from John to Chris to Tom, Jim, and Patrick. You guys have been more than everything I could ever have imagined, and I thank you for everything that you continue to do for us, and always being there for us. And that extends to their wives as well. They're so beautiful. Thank you.
Well, you get the love that you put out there, and you took such good care of Sean, and you set a new standard for everyone to live their lives by, whether it's just an everyday life or whether it's dealing with the loss of someone, whether it's sudden or prolonged. I think that you really gave us all a master class in how to do it. And I know days aren't always easy, and I know the emotions are still there. And again, the book, I just can't say enough about how proud I am of you, and the emotion that's in it, the hard facts that are in it, the things that we need to know. And it's a glimpse into just a beautiful life. Oh, shoot, I think we have one more new question come in. Let me see, get this real quickly. Oh, this is, what are your plans after GDLA? Maybe a book about being a successful woman in the news industry for 20 plus years. Maybe there's another question.
You know, I think so. I'm not sure exactly yet. I would love some ideas. So thank you for that. Send them my way, and we'll work on it next. Maybe Gus. I was talking to Gus about it, and he's really going to help me on the next one, I think. So
maybe
stay
from
tuned.
a child's point of view.
Maybe something totally different. I'm not sure, but thank you everybody for coming into our big event today. I really am praying that we will have a real in-person event to come very soon. We'll keep you posted.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. And also at the end of this, we're going to send you an email with a beautiful guide for the book that hopefully you can share and use as a discussion for your book club, if you have one, or a support group that you're in.
Yeah. And just want to end with a few of these from Brooke. Sean is looking down, smiling ear to ear about how the book turned out, and so proud of the writer you have become.
Oh, thank you, Brookie.
Someone else just said, Angela, thank you. You have helped me. And I think the messages that you get like that are going to be the messages that propel you. And
heals my heart. Heals my heart. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Maria, look, we're coming in just at 59:50. I think they gave us a minute.
Oh.
Steve Holt,
Okay.
Erica, and all the other producers out there watching us right now, you can be proud of me. I'm trying.
I want to say lastly, Lisa Breckenridge, I love you so much. Thank you for doing this and taking the time to do this with me today. Thank you.